Episode 1 of The Perfect Couple begins with a wedding rehearsal at the Summerland Beach Estate in Nantucket. The super rich Wimbury's second son, Benji, is getting married to Amelia, who is a middle-class zoologist. It seems that everything is going smoothly, but Benji's older brother, Thomas, clashes with everyone, including the bride and his pregnant wife Abby. That night at the beach, a drink with a lipstick mark is left on a table, while there is a female corpse in the sea. The next morning, Chief Dan Carter is called in to handle the case of the dead female guest. His daughter Chloe was to be one of the wedding caterers, and she panics as she has a bloody shirt with her. Detective Henry arrives as well and keeps butting heads with Carter, who doesn't approve of her. They begin the investigation by questioning the wedding planner, Roger Pelton, Abby, the maid Gosia, and a family friend called Isabel. Amelia is in questioning as well, and they notice that she is wearing her wedding dress and has a cut on her foot. We then jump back to the morning of the wedding rehearsal. Amelia is a kind-hearted woman who wouldn't hurt a fly, as we see her carry a ladybird out to the garden, even though she is in her bra. This, of course, doesn't sit well with Benji's uptight mother, Greer, who prides herself in decorum. At breakfast, Amelia and Greer are snarky with each other, which the men of the family actually find quite funny. We also see that Greer's husband, Tag, doesn't give her much attention. She accidentally learns from her jeweler that Tag has brought a bracelet, and she suspects an affair as he hasn't given her any bracelet. At the same time, Benji confronts her about breakfast, and it becomes obvious that she doesn't like Amelia, as she believes the girl is disrespectful and beneath their class. Greer's editor, Enid, calls, and we see that the former is a very popular novelist. However, her fame is shared by Tag, as Enid insists on couple interviews to keep up the illusion of them as a perfect couple. Greer tries to cancel, but drops it when Enid tries to question her. In the flash-forward interrogations, the suspects all share that Greer is a mystery who keeps her cards to herself. As for Tag, everyone is enamoured with him, but he is somewhat of an enigma. He plays golf by trying to hit birds and pays more attention to his canoe than Thomas, who needs a loan from him. And when Tag learns that Amelia's mother, Karen, has cancer, he suggests marijuana and recreational drugs. When Karen and her husband Bruce arrive, there is again tension, as the Wimburys find them too ordinary and scoff at the fact that they have brought fruit as a gift. While Bruce goes swimming, Karen hides a couple of pills that have a caution label on them. Meanwhile, the youngsters are hanging out at the pool. The maid of honour, Merritt, wants a selfie with the best man, Shooter, when they are interrupted by the youngest Wimbury, Will, who has just been dumped. Merritt takes a photo with Will so he can post it online and make his ex jealous, but he gets enamoured with her. As for the suspects, they call Merritt promiscuous. Back at the pool, Amelia confides in Merritt that she hates Greer, and they joke that she must have married Tag for his money. But the conversation soon takes a serious turn when Amelia starts doubting if she truly loves Benji. This has Merritt wondering if Amelia is only getting married since her mum is dying. As Amelia heads inside, Benji gives her a painting that he has made of her, and she observes that he has tried to make her look regal. She makes a move on him, but when he tries to make eye contact with her, she becomes annoyed. She believes that she doesn't deserve him and leaves the room. Back to the interrogation, all the suspects comment on how Amelia doesn't fit in and how it is all moving way too fast as a couple only met a year back. The cops also find the murder weapon, which happens to be an oyster shucking knife. We then cut back to the rehearsal day and the evening. The rehearsal dinner has begun and everything seems to be going smoothly. Benji gives a romantic speech about how he met Amelia at a zoo and he instantly fell in love. Meanwhile, Abby and Thomas bicker about getting a new apartment, and he is angry as his father denies him the loan. He takes out his anger by making inappropriate comments about Merritt. Benji tells him to go for a swim and Thomas does leave. And then as episode 1 comes to an end, Amelia is trying on her wedding dress in her room when she spots the body. She rushes to it when she suddenly realises that that body is none other than Merritt's. Episode 2 of The Perfect Couple begins with Amelia spotting Tag's bracelet on Merritt's wrist and learning that they are having an affair. Amelia is upset and screams at her, but the fireworks go off and it's the night of the rehearsal dinner. The next day, the cops find Tag's canoe out in the sea. They bring it back and wonder if Merritt could have flipped and drowned. However, they find a man's jacket and Merritt's phone in the water. Detective Henry heads inside and questions Abby, who is difficult to read as she's sweet but also pretty sarcastic. She pretends to be relatable, but in the same breath points out that she's richer than Henry. As for her whereabouts, she claims that she was asleep early while Merritt and Thomas were part of the late night crew. When asked about Shooter, Abby comments that Merritt was promiscuous. Greer is more upset that the death has overshadowed her interviews and is busy cancelling them. A Broderick Graham has also been calling her since the day of the rehearsal, but she seems to be avoiding him. The caterer shows and she sends Thomas to deal with it, and he is brash and unruly. During the flash forward interrogations, the suspects all claim that Thomas is a brat. Back in the present timeline though, Abby is going through the wedding gifts and taking whatever she fancies. Will has hurt his hand though, but he deflects when Thomas notices. Amelia comes home from the station and the Wimberys all surround her and give their condolences. However, she goes and cries to her mum, who is out of it because of her pills. Henry and Chief Carr are going through Merritt's room when Tag shows up with coffee and contaminates the crime scene. He insists that her death is an accidental drowning and Carter agrees with him. This annoys Henry though, who declares that they shouldn't leave out the possibility that a disgruntled suitor could have killed Merritt. After Tag leaves, she reprimands Carter, who reveals that his being a mooch is an act and they need to be careful or the rich locals will destroy them. Meanwhile, Amelia interrupts a family meeting where the Wimberys are planning on releasing a statement that Merritt may have killed herself. Amelia is shocked and Greer insists that they just need to get ahead of the press since they're an influential family. To make matters worse, Benji shows up with an NDA and forces Amelia to sign it. He claims that it's just a precaution, but she is upset with him. We also see that Shooter's room is next to Merritt's and he tries to call someone. He then takes his passport and runs off. At the same time, the cops learn that his fingerprints are on Merritt's phone. They catch him just as he tries to get on a ferry to get off the island. Elsewhere, Thomas hooks up with Isabel and seems to be in love with her. But she is only sleeping with him for the drugs he provides, and he gets upset that no one is taking him seriously. He heads home to see Abby packing up. She claims that she has spoken to the cops and she is going away to get her usual hair treatment. They bicker over it though, as she refuses to poison their unborn daughter, and he doesn't look too happy about that possible gender reveal. As for our perfect couple, Roger tells the cops that Tag is not interested in Greer and they have a marriage of convenience. At present, Tag hopes all the sordid events become a distant memory and Greer looks angry. He later offers her a drink and a canoe ride, but she refuses. He does clean up after himself as she calls him out for being messy. That night, Amelia is hanging around Merritt's room and then the kitchen when Tag spots her. He hopes that things won't be awkward and says Merritt was special. This angers her and she tells the cops about Merritt and Tag's affair. They let her know that there may also be some struggle involved, which rules out an accident, but they notice that she is hiding something else, and in a flashback we see that Merritt is pregnant with Tag's child. Greer recalls seeing Tag's bracelet on Merritt's wrist when she arrived for the rehearsal dinner. And in a voiceover, we hear Greer screaming at Tag, which is where episode 2 comes to an ominous end. Episode 3 of The Perfect Couple begins with a flashback to a year ago. Everyone is partying when Merritt gets a call from her stepdad asking for money. She steps aside to talk to him and Tag watches. After the call, he offers her a joint and she accepts. Amelia watches them from afar. Back in the present, the cops ask if Amelia is sure that Tag is the father of Merritt's kid. She reveals that while Merritt pretended to be a party girl, she never slept with anyone. So, to sleep with Tag, she must have been in love with him. That night, Amelia comes home to Tag searching for something in his office. He panics and it seems he is looking for the receipt of the bracelet. Once everyone is asleep, Amelia goes through his office before Greer catches him. She tells Amelia to ask if she needs anything and subtly scolds her for sneaking around. At breakfast, the family prepares for Greer's book launch and the couple interview. Amelia finds the hustle and bustle wrong and Greer fakes niceties by claiming she cannot cancel her launch since people are flying in from NYC. While everyone is distracted, Will sneaks into Chloe's room. Carter finds him and is furious as he kicks him out. He also notices Will's bandaged hand, and in a flashback we see Will befriending Chloe during the rehearsal dinner. He takes her to his secret spot on the beach where they get drunk. He notices Merritt on the beach and goes to talk to her while Chloe falls asleep. When she awakens, she sees that Will's hand is bleeding. Amelia and Abby are sitting by the pool and end up talking. Amelia is curious about the NDA and Abby explains that it is just standard procedure. She lets slip that the last time there had been an NDA was when Will's French tutor, May Pratt, went missing. Of course, Amelia asks Benji about it and he tells her to drop it. On the grounds, People magazine is interviewing Greer and Tag for her new book. The interview is all about their loving relationship, but Tag overdoes it with his singing and bawdy comments which irks Greer. She lets slip that her book's female character is based on an aunt, and we learn that she doesn't ever talk about her family. It then starts raining and they are forced to take the interview inside. Greer is upset about the rain, her outdoor interview setting, and Tag hijacking the interview. He claims he loves her and wants to drop the act as he kisses her, but she just pushes him away and heads out. She runs into Amelia when she does, who is wearing sweats, and she redirects her anger at her. She tells Amelia to put more effort for Benji and sends her back to change her outfit for the interview photo. Alone in Benji's room, Amelia goes through his desk and finds photos of Merritt, including sketches of waves. At the same time, the cops go through Merritt's phone records and find that she has several missed calls from Benji. There is also one voice message in which he asks her to keep something a secret from Amelia. As for the flash forward interrogations, the suspects are asking about Shooter. Abby shares that he is close to Greer, while Gosia thinks her relationship is suspicious. The cops are forced to let him go as they don't have solid evidence, but they order him not to leave the island. The moment Shooter arrives at the estate, he tells Greer that he has not told the cops about some money. Meanwhile, Henry gets Isabel drunk and learns that the Wimbury money is all in trust. The kids will get it much later, but Tag barely gets any money, which he puts into investments, and Greer is the one who is running everything from her earnings. Benji had anger issues as a teen, while Will is extremely nervous and doesn't get along with Tag. At the family dinner, everyone is making small talk until Amelia suddenly asks about the NDAs and May. The Wimburys try to shut her up, but Thomas finds it amusing as Will is in the dark. He toys with his brother before revealing that May was having an affair with Tag, tried to kill herself, and they paid her to leave. An upset Will storms off while Benji tells Amelia that he had no idea about May. At that moment, the cops learn that Will and Merritt's blood was found on the sand and his fingerprints were on the oyster shucker. They also find Merritt and Will arguing in the videos taken at the rehearsal dinner. Meanwhile, Will goes missing, but Tag doesn't look worried. Greer berates him and they start looking for the kid. However, Will and Chloe are near the canoe and he is planning to leave. She tries to stop him, but he's angry as he believed that his feelings for May are what drove her away. Unsure what to do, Chloe accompanies him. Amelia feels guilty about the whole situation and joins the manhunt for Will as well. She happens upon his secret spot on the beach and finds Merritt's bracelet. Amelia then gives the bracelet to Henry and claims Will was hiding it, which is where episode 3 comes to a close. Episode 4 of The Perfect Couple begins with everyone looking for Will and Chloe. At the police station, Henry is skeptical as Amelia reveals that Tag gave Merritt the bracelet and she told him she was pregnant. With Will hiding that and the NDAs, Amelia believes the whole family is covering up Merritt's murder. But Henry believes Shooter is the murderer and asks Amelia about him as he has powerful contacts. This shocks Amelia, but for a very different reason. In a flashback, Benji plans an outing to the family estate with Amelia and Shooter the previous winter. However, Benji is delayed and Amelia and Shooter bond as they travel to Nantucket alone. He reveals that his mum died when he was 14 and since then Benji has been by his side. Shooter also finds Amelia familiar but cannot place where he has seen her before. As they walk by the beach, Shooter goes skinny dipping and Amelia joins him. Back in the present, the kids are found and Carter scolds Will for putting Chloe in danger. Will profusely apologises and Carter then brings up Merritt's bracelet. Will ends up sharing his side of the story. While he is drinking on the beach with Chloe, he overhears Merritt telling Tag that she is pregnant. Tag looks happy, but Will follows them back to the dance floor and tries to tell Merritt that his parents will never divorce. Will is ready to help her, but she refuses, hugging and telling him that she will handle it. Later that night, he once again spots her walking past his secret spot, but she's angry and throws her bracelet away. He takes it to give it to her later on and then cuts his hand while trying to eat an oyster. Carter asks if Greer knew all of this and Will is positive that she didn't. He heads home and the Wimburys crowd him, wanting to know what Carter asked. He insists that it was about Chloe, but they don't look very convinced. In the chaos, Broderick calls and Abby answers. She is amused as he is secretive and even more amused when everyone looks shocked when she announces his name to Greer. Gosia watches the whole thing as Greer claims she doesn't know any Broderick and Abby hangs up. Meanwhile, Amelia confronts Shooter about trying to run off. He claims that he panicked and he thought the cops were after him for some money. She asks about Benji having Merritt's photos and Shooter claims that he must have a good reason. Unsatisfied, she directly asks Benji about the photos. It seems Merritt had given him the photos to paint her. He had wanted to surprise Amelia, which is why he never told her. He also learned of Tag and Merritt one golf weekend. He told her to break it off and after that she started avoiding his calls. He didn't want Amelia to know because he didn't want to be compared to his father. He promises that there won't be any more secrets and she hugs him. In the winter flashback, Shooter and Amelia seem to be getting along really well. He tears open an M&M's packet and all the candies fall on the floor. As she starts gathering them, he remembers her. He'd been on the train and a hawker's beads had scattered. As he tried to help, Amelia was the only other person to join him in gathering the beads. Before she can say anything, Benji finally shows up. Back in the present, Shooter and Benji go on a run and discuss the Tag, Merritt, Greer fiasco. They observe that despite their drama, Tag and Greer love each other. However, Benji thinks it's messed up and comments that he could never look the other way if Amelia cheated on him. At that moment, Amelia is reminiscing about Merritt with her parents. They ask her not to feel guilty as she was a good friend. After she leaves, Karen takes some more pills. Elsewhere, Tag tries to patch up with Greer, who is busy working. He doesn't like her indifferent attitude and she threatens to make a scene. He insists that he loves her and wants her, but she tells him to stay away. He calls her bluff as he caresses her and they end up sleeping together. Inspired, Greer resumes her writing, but while she does, she recalls one moment of the rehearsal dinner where she is talking to Merritt. She lets slip that Tag is a womanizer and will never settle down with Merritt. Merritt looks shaken and Abby shows up with drinks. She refuses to drink and Greer's cocky facade slips as she realises that Merritt is pregnant. At present, Greer gives the bracelet's receipt to Carter. She also spies that the toxicology report states Merritt had sedatives in her system. Meanwhile, Benji comes across Thomas and Abby taking out the wedding cake to eat. He's upset and tells them to stop. They goad him and take a bite of the cake. He starts chasing Thomas around and they fight as they throw cake at each other. Abby finds it funny, but she stops them as it escalates. Another winter flashback shows Amelia accidentally walking on a Shooter while he is showering. At present, she goes up to him and apologises for being curt with him. She accepts that there's something between them but they cannot act on it. Of course, they do as they kiss, and at the end of episode 4, Benji walks in on them and is furious. Episode 5 of The Perfect Couple begins with Amelia trying to steer clear of the Wimberys and leave Nantucket soon. However, it is Greer's book launch and she insists that Amelia must attend so people don't gossip about her cheating on Benji. As for Tag, he is being held at the police station. The cops hound him, but he points out that he is just a witness who is trying to help. He claims that he was indeed having an affair with Merritt, but she wanted more and so he evaded her. Should they try to accuse him, he will call his lawyer. In the flashback to the rehearsal dinner, Merritt tells Tag that she is pregnant. She looks relieved when he reacts happily and kisses her. They profess their love for each other as well. Back in the present, Amelia happens upon Abby packing up Merritt's things. Abby shares that she has never had a friendship like the one Amelia and Merritt shared. She decides to help Amelia and promises to be her wingwoman at the book launch. At the event, Greer's team is busy handling Tag's absence. Will tries to ask out Chloe and loses his nerve when he thinks she is rejecting him. Abby comments on how rich Shooter is and Amelia feels betrayed. As for Benji, he gets drunk with Isabel. Meanwhile, the cops are hounding Tag as they believe he drugged Merritt and then killed her around 6 AM. He stays silent as he recalls the night of the murder. The late night crew includes Tag, Roger, the videographer, Merritt and Isabel. Gossier watches as Tag gives his jacket to Merritt. Later, Merritt finds Tag getting ready to go out to the sea on his canoe. She brings up their relationship and he suddenly changes his tune as he asks for more time in dealing with Greer. She realises that he will actually never leave Greer and is upset. She also believes he wants her to have an abortion and tries to kill herself by drowning. He tries to stop her and they struggle in the water. Back in the present, Tag notices his smartwatch and comes clean. He shares that they did have an argument, but his smartwatch records his sleep pattern, which is proof that he was in bed when Merritt was drugged and killed around 6 AM. At the launch, while giving her condolences, Isabel tells Amelia about her last conversation with Merritt. After Tag stops Merritt from drowning, she storms off and comes across Isabel. They drink together and Isabel comforts her. She claims that a man never leaves and to get him, they have to make the wife leave. She drunkenly breaks her glass while leaving and Merritt hurts her foot as she steps on the shards. Back at the launch, Shooter tries to apologise to Benji who punches him. Amelia is shocked and takes Benji back to the kitchen. She tries to get him to sober up as he rants about how he liked her and they hook up. Outside, the launch begins and Chloe leaves Will a note saying he's cute. A drunk Tag shows up as he is freed and he hangs back. Broderick too shows, but security takes him away as he tries to get close to Greer. Seeing his opportunity, Tag joins Greer on the stage and hijacks the launch. He reveals that they are imperfect and she even tried to frame him for murder. He starts singing and a frustrated Greer gives up and joins him. He falls and is taken away while Greer watches the shocked audience. Meanwhile, the cops notice that the watch even tracks Greer's sleep pattern as she sleeps in the same bed as Tag, and on the night of the murder, she was not in the bedroom from 3 to 4:30 AM. Following the disastrous launch, Amelia confronts Shooter. She is upset that he let her believe that he was poor and that they were the same. However, it doesn't matter, she claims she is as messed up as them and reveals that she hooks up with Benji. As for Greer, she drinks at the bar and is joined by Carter. To take her mind off her launch, she offers to help him with the suspect's motive. Carter asks if she would be considered a suspect and she claims she is too obvious so it's not her. At that moment, Henry calls Carter and reveals that Greer was on a call with Broderick half an hour before Merritt's death. Not only is he a thug, but Shooter wired the guy $300k. On top of that, Broderick has been calling Greer non-stop, as we know, since Merritt's death. Carter looks shaken, and on seeing his face change, Greer rushes out. We then cut back to the night of the murder. Greer spots Merritt sitting on the beach. Someone approaches Merritt and she greets him with a smile, which is where episode 5 comes to an end. Episode 6 of The Perfect Couple begins with Greer being surprised as she runs into Amelia and Benji being cordial in the kitchen, but her mind is still on the toxicology report as she asks Amelia if Merritt had any addictions. Amelia strongly refused before the cops show up and take Greer to the station. Meanwhile, Thomas is busy hooking up with Isabel when Abby tells him about Greer being taken away. However, she is furious when she figures that he had not gone out for a run but was actually with Isabel. At the same time, Enid and the publishing staff arrive and try to fix Tag's fiasco as he feels bad for ruining the book launch. They try to come up with an apology speech for him and also insist that he go to rehab to deal with his substance abuse. At the police station, the cops are at their wits' end as Greer stays quiet despite bringing in Broderick. As they keep hounding her, she finally reveals that Broderick is her brother and she has been covering all of his gambling debts. During his latest stint, she didn't have the money, so she asked Shooter for a loan. Stumped, the cops let Greer and Broderick go. Tired of all the lies, Greer arrives home and tells Enid and her sons everything, that Broderick was a pimp and she was an escort. That's how she and Tag met. He was her client. She has been cleaning up his mess all these years and decides to stop for good. This time, she is going to focus on herself and use her real story for her next book, which has Enid impressed. Amelia is busy discussing the murder with her parents as she shares that Merritt had the sedative barbiturates in her system. Her mother, Karen, is shocked as she goes for a secret stash and realizes that one of the pills is missing. Karen ends up confessing to the cops that she had actually carried 3 pills with her in case her condition deteriorated quickly. While one pill is not enough to kill someone, if Merritt had taken it when she entered the water, she could have drowned. Benji and Amelia recall Thomas's prescription roulette, where he steals pills from all over the house and takes one just for the fun of it. Thomas is then taken to the station, where he claims that he thought the pill was Oxy and had kept it for himself. He draws his own conclusions and sends the cops after Isabel. He explains that he owed Isabel $2.5 million, which he would be able to pay back after Will turned 18 next month. According to their trust guidelines, the Wimberys will get their money once the youngest son turns 18, and the money will be split 3 ways among the boys. With Merritt's kid in the picture, the money would be split 4 ways and they would have to wait for 18 years. So, Isabel must have spiked Merritt's drink by the beach. We also get a flashback here to the night of the murder. A drunk Thomas decided to threaten Merritt to get an abortion when he spots her drinking with Isabel. However, his aim is off as he directly points the gun at her head. Isabel stops him and takes him away to a hotel. Back in the present, when the cops question Isabel, she points out that she is extremely rich and loaned the money knowing Thomas would not be able to pay it back. She doesn't need the money or Tag, so she doesn't have the right motive. It's actually Detective Henry who realises that there is another suspect in play, Abby, who had claimed Thomas had come to bed late on the night of the murder. That is simply not possible as Thomas was at the hotel during that time with Isabel, which is confirmed by the dashcam footage of the taxi they took. So now we get confirmation that Abby killed Merritt, but how and why? Well, Henry recalls that when she first questioned Abby after the body was found, she was nervous and washing a glass. That must have been the one that she used to drug Merritt. And during the interrogation at the station, Abby had gone on and on about an exclusive tallow-infused lotion that she uses. Along with the pills in Merritt's bloodstream, tallow was found on her hair. Henry deduces that Abby must have held Merritt's head while she drowned her, and with her lying about Thomas's whereabouts too, it's enough to arrest Abby. A flashback to the night of the murder reveals Abby's motivations as well. Along with Greer, Abby realises that Merritt is pregnant when she refuses to drink. Later that night, while she does her skincare routine on the balcony, she watches Thomas trying to shoot at Merritt and Isabel taking him away. Frustrated, she grabs a pill from Thomas's stash, mixes it with orange juice and gives it to Merritt, who is grateful for her company. Abby lulls her into a false sense of security by talking about cheating husbands. She also adds that they should never trust the man to do anything. This suggests that it was Abby's idea to have Thomas threaten Merritt, but with him ruining the plan, she takes matters into her own hands. As a nightcap, she suggests going for a swim and Merritt agrees. As she feels dizzy, Abby holds her down in the water and drowns her. As for Abby's motive, it is what Thomas had suspected of Isabel. From the beginning of the show, Abby has been money-minded, bickering with Thomas about the money, wanting a bigger apartment, flexing her wealth in front of Henry, and stealing expensive wedding gifts. She must have wanted Merritt's child out of the picture so that she could get her hands on the trust fund money without any further delay. Amelia calls Shooter and apologises for being confused and toying with him and Benji. She reveals that she does remember Shooter from the train and hopes to find the old her. She wishes him farewell and hangs up. As for Benji, he apologises to Amelia and believes everything is his fault. He claims that he knew she was unsure about him and that her mother was severely ill, yet he proposed to her. He wishes her well and they part ways amicably. Thomas continues to lie about his affair with Isabel, but Abby knows about it. Her breaking point seems to be when he claims to go running but is actually hooking up with Isabel when Greer is taken by the cops. She calls him out for being selfish, but it all seems to be an act as she then plays a dutiful wife when the cops suspect Thomas of killing Merritt. When she is arrested as a murderer, she screams at Thomas to help her. However, he is being chased around by an angry Isabel for putting the cops on her tail. As for Tag, he realises that his marriage is over, and thus he doesn't need to go to rehab or stop his drinking. He and Greer seem to take a break from each other as she tells him to stay in Nantucket while she works on her book in NYC. At the end of the episode, Greer visits Amelia at the zoo where she works. Greer reveals that her new book is on Amelia and she won't publish it until she gets her blessing. Amelia wonders over her change of heart and Greer accepts that she initially didn't like her because she was jealous. While the two have a middle class background, Greer pretended to be someone she was not to fit in, while Amelia refused to change who she was for the sake of the Wimberys. She hopes Amelia will like her book and offers to have a meal with her, which is where everything comes to an end. And with the end of episode 6, this Netflix whodunit comes to a close as well. It finally ties up all the loose ends such as Karen's pills, Abby's money-hungry nature and Broderick's secret. It also solidifies the exciting nature of murder mysteries when they make use of the butterfly effect as evident with Karen's pills. Had Thomas not stolen it and Abby not coincidentally picked it to drug Merritt, the cops wouldn't have Karen's confession to trace it all back to Abby. Also, to be honest, the show almost had us in the first half with that bland characterization of Abby. However, it seems that Dakota Fanning is finally getting her time to shine after her unfortunate career choices as an adult. The reveal and the back and forth to Abby's initial introduction as a snobbish rich girl who puts too much importance on money not only makes it exciting for viewers to connect the dots, but also explains her motive as the killer no one would have suspected. While not perfect, The Perfect Couple has actually been a pretty decent watch overall, and the ending wraps everything up with a neat little bow. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.